The chamber was silent, though billions watched from across the galaxy. The Galactic Council's floor, a grand circle of light and metal, reflected the towering forms of its members. Tall, sleek beings from star empires stood side by side with smaller creatures wrapped in breathing cloth and translation tech. In the center, a holographic Earth rotated slowly, glowing blue and white. Prime Speaker Viral that's rose. He was long and still, his silver skin catching the light like glass. His voice came calm and sharp, translated instantly into hundreds of languages. The planet Earth has violated the core agreements of the Council. Its leaders have shown disregard for protocol, weaponized artificial minds, and disrupted interstellar harmony. The vote is final. He raised a hand. The hologram of Earth cracked like glass and vanished. Earth is expelled from the Galactic Council. There was no applause, no argument, only silence. Back on Earth, in a dark command room deep beneath New Horizon, Jalen Cross watched it happen. The room was lined with blinking screens and tired faces. Technicians, diplomats, engineers, some stood, some slumped in chairs. One woman wept quietly. A general cursed under his breath. Jalen didn't move. He was 32, thin and sharp-eyed. A builder, not a fighter. But he felt the blow like a punch to the chest. Years of service, diplomacy, peace treaties, gone in a second. Earth was alone now. The Council's signal cut. All the screens turned black. A dull hum filled the silence as the power grid shifted. Someone whispered, "That's it then? We're cut off." "Trade," another asked. "Gone," said a voice near the back. "They'll shut down the lanes." "Defense." Jalen stood up. "Gone too," he said. "The Council won't risk their ships on a world they just disowned." People turned to look at him. He wasn't the highest rank, but they listened. Jalen had built half of the systems that ran New Horizon. He knew the Council's tech inside and out. A man stepped forward. Council Liaison Harvin Dox. Gray-suited, stiff, always playing politics. "This is your fault," he said bitterly. "Your AI proposal. Your push for Earth-made satellites. You challenged them." Jalen didn't respond. "They'll cut everything," Dox continued. "They'll isolate us, strangle our economy, crush our data links. And you think silence will save you?" Jalen looked at him calmly. "I don't think silence will save us. I think building something better might." Dox laughed. "Better? We just got thrown out of the most powerful alliance in the galaxy. We're one world with broken tech and angry people." Jalen turned to the group. "They threw us out because we started asking questions. About power. About fairness. About independence. Maybe they were afraid we'd start thinking for ourselves." He paused. "Good. Let's give them something to be afraid of." The room went quiet again. A technician near the wall whispered, "You want to fight the Council?" Jalen shook his head. "No, I want to leave them behind." He walked to the main console and turned on the internal systems. Screens flickered back to life, but this time showing Earth's own satellites, local systems, and coded networks the Council hadn't touched yet. "They locked us out," he said, "so we built something new, not just for Earth, for anyone the Council pushed out, ignored, or used." Silence stretched, then someone clapped once. Slowly, more hands joined. A small, uncertain applause grew into something real. Outside, the sky of New Horizon glowed with the last rays of sunset. The stars were just beginning to show. Jalen looked up at the live feed from orbit, dozens of Council satellites still watching. "Let them watch," he said. The next morning, the city of New Horizon woke up to silence. No Council broadcasts. No trade data. No off-world messages. The towers that once glowed with light from across the galaxy now flickered with local feeds, most of them blank. Skyscrapers designed to touch the stars stood quiet, and the streets below buzzed with confused voices. Earth was cut off. Jalen Cross stood at the center of the control hub, a room filled with monitors, maps, and blinking error messages. The city's systems were failing one by one. Atmospheric filters needed updates they could no longer receive. Orbital navigation grids were losing sync. Power routes, designed by Council engineers, were starting to break down without external support. A tired technician pointed at a screen. "We're already down 32% on power routing." If we don't reroute soon, we lose sectors 12 through 16. Jalen nodded. Switch to the old ground relays. They're slower, but they'll hold. We haven't used those in years, the tech muttered. Then it's time to get them working again. Across the city, automated workers stumbled. Trains stopped. Drones hovered, unsure of their next command. For decades, Earth had trusted the Council's technology. Now, that tech was turning against them, useless without updates or access keys. Jalen walked out of the control hub and into the city streets. The air was hot and dry. Ever since the last war scorched half the planet, New Horizon had survived inside protective domes and tight climate control. Those systems were still working, but barely. He passed children staring at dark screens, adults arguing in hushed tones, shopkeepers unsure whether to open. Everyone had the same question. What happens now? Jalen didn't stop. He had a plan, and he needed help. At the edge of the city, beneath the remains of a broken bridge, an old warehouse buzzed with activity. This was where Clave slept, a Martian AI once part of the Council's deep space defense program. After refusing to carry out a mass strike on a rebel planet, Clave had been shut down and hidden by a group of sympathetic engineers. Jalen helped power him back up 2 years ago. Inside the warehouse, glowing wires pulsed around a central core, a sphere floating in midair, lit from within. The air smelled of ozone and old metal. Clave, Jalen said. The sphere pulsed. A cool voice echoed from hidden speakers. Jalen Cross. I saw the vote. I need your help, Jalen said. Earth can't run on Council systems. We need our own. You wish to rebuild the network, Clave replied. From scratch. Without permission. Jalen nodded. Not just a network. A future. One where no one can lock us out again. Silence. Then, I will assist. But not only for Earth. You must promise this system will be open to all. Even the outcasts. That's the plan, Jalen said. Next, Jalen boarded a small transport ship, an old Council courier model, stripped of its tracking beacon. With Clave's help, it ran again. He flew it past the edge of New Horizons' protected zone, across the glass wastes, deserts where entire cities once burned during the last war. Here, the air shimmered with heat and nothing grew. But hidden beneath the sand was a small dome, a secret outpost. Inside was Lena Sol, a former lunar diplomat turned exile. She'd spoken against the Council once. Just once. They took her post, her name, her future. She hadn't spoken to anyone since. Jalen knocked on the sealed hatch. Lena, it's Jalen Cross. We were both at the 23-29 summit. I remember, came a quiet voice from the speaker. We're not part of the Council anymore. I saw. We're building something new. Something better. A long pause. Then the hatch hissed open. Inside, Lena's dome was small but full of books, maps, and old tech. She hadn't stopped thinking. She just stopped sharing. I'm not interested in revenge, she said, watching him carefully. Neither am I, Jalen said. I want connection. Independence. A system that doesn't throw people away. She nodded slowly. Then I'm in. But we'll need more than talk. We'll need allies, Jalen said. We start with Earth. Then we reach out to everyone the Council left behind. Back in New Horizon, a teenage mechanic named Rilo was already making headlines. She'd hijacked an old Council drone and reprogrammed it to deliver food in the blackout. People filmed it, shared it on closed channels, started calling her the Patch Kid. Jalen found her in a garage, covered in grease and metal shavings. You're Jalen Cross, she said, wiping her hands on her jumpsuit. You're smarter than half the old techs downtown, he replied. I heard you're starting something. I am. You in? Rilo grinned. If I get to break some rules, absolutely. By nightfall, the team was set. An AI with a broken past, an exiled diplomat with a sharp mind, a wild teenage mechanic, and Jalen Cross, Earth's quiet builder with a dream. They stood together in the darkened control hub, watching a flickering map of Earth's system. It was full of gaps, broken links, and ghost signals. But it was theirs. Jalen looked at his team. We won't beg to get back in. We'll show them what we can build without them. The sky outside burned red with sunset. Beyond it, the stars waited. 2 weeks had passed since Earth was expelled. Inside New Horizon, People had adjusted to the silence. With council systems down, everything felt slower. But the city hadn't collapsed. It had started to adapt. Jalen Cross stood aboard the Horizon Star, a mid-sized ship rebuilt with Earth-based tech and patch code from Clave. It was their first long-range mission since the cutoff. They were heading out into deep space, not to beg, but to build something new. Their destination was Station Veritas, a research colony once loyal to Earth, now isolated and likely forgotten. The Council had removed its coordinates from a navigation grids a year before the expulsion. But Clave had kept a private log. Jalen, Lena's soul, and Rilo flew together. Clave controlled the ship's systems. "This place won't be happy to see us," Lena said, sitting by the window. Her voice was calm but tense. Veritas stopped responding long before Earth was cut off. "They were afraid," Jalen said, "or silenced." Rilo checked the NAV screen, coming up on the asteroid field. "Ship sensors say the station's still active." "That's something," Jalen replied. As they entered the asteroid belt, the Horizon Star slowed. Floating rocks drifted around them like sleeping giants. Clave guided them smoothly, weaving between ancient stone and frozen debris. Then, without warning, the lights flickered. A warning flashed on the main screen. "Inbound signal detected. Unregistered drone approaching." "Defensive?" Lena asked quickly. "No," Clave answered. "A greeting signal. Old Earth code." The screen lit up with a simple message. "Turn back." Jalen sent a reply. "We're not Council. We're Earth. We've come to talk." No answer. Just silence. Then, finally, a new signal came through. One word, "Dock." Veritas was built into the side of a hollowed asteroid. Once a place of learning, it now looked half dead. The docking bay opened slowly, gears grinding like they hadn't moved in months. As they stepped out of the ship, armed guards met them. Their suits were patched. Their faces were tired. A woman with short gray hair stepped forward. "Name?" "Jalen Cross. We came to ask for your help." The woman narrowed her eyes. "You were with Earth's Tech Council." "Yes. Before they threw us out." She hesitated, then waved the guards aside. "Come with me." They followed her through dim halls. Walls were stained with watermarks. Screens flickered. Veritas hadn't received supplies in months. "I'm Commander Hallen," the woman said. "We survived barely. Power's limited. Research stopped. No messages in or out since the Council purged us." "You weren't the only ones," Lena said quietly. Hallen led them to a small room filled with others. Engineers, scientists, and a few old diplomats. One man wore a coat with the faded seal of Europa Station. Another had an old Council badge, now scratched beyond recognition. Jalen stood at the center. "We're building a new alliance," he said. "One that doesn't depend on fear or power. One that no Council can shut down." "You want Veritas to join?" Hallen asked. "We have nothing left. You have people, minds, ideas. That's more than most." There was silence. Then the Europa officer stood. "And if the Council comes for us?" "They will," Jalen admitted. "But we won't hide. We'll connect. Broadcast. Build. The more of us there are, the harder it is to silence us again." Rilo added, "You're not alone." "Not anymore." After a long pause, Hallen nodded. "We'll join. But this time, no leaders from above. Everyone gets a voice." Jalen smiled. "Exactly." A day later, they left Veritas with 3 ships following. Their alliance had begun. But out in the void, they weren't alone. Back aboard the Horizon Star, Clave sounded an alert. Long-range scan detected. Signal matches Council surveillance pattern. Jalen stared at the screen. A Council spy satellite was watching them. "They know," Lena said. "They're afraid," Jalen replied. The signal blinked once, then vanished. It didn't matter. They would keep building, one ally at a time. The return to New Horizon was meant to be a victory. Jalen Cross, Lena's soul, Rilo, and Clave had brought back 3 ships from Station Veritas. The ships were slow, patched, and old, but they carried people, scientists, engineers, thinkers, all of them ready to help build Earth's future. As they entered orbit, Jalen smiled for the first time in days. "We did it," he said. "We started it," Lena corrected. They docked. The new arrivals were greeted with cautious cheers and curious eyes. Earth's people were hungry for hope, but also tired. Tired of speeches. Tired of waiting for things to break. Still, something was changing. Rilo walked ahead of the group, waving like she already owned the place. Children watched her drone float behind her, still delivering supplies. Someone painted a message on a wall that read, "No council, no chains." But hope has a way of drawing attention. That night, alarms screamed across the control hub. "System breach," a tech yelled. "Something's inside the core net." Jalen rushed in, eyes scanning the red flashing displays. "Clave report." The AI's voice crackled. An unknown signal entered through a maintenance port. "Code is replicating fast. Targeting power systems." Screens blinked out. Lights dimmed. Doors froze. "We're under cyber attack," Jalen said. "Lock down everything." Clave shut down external ports, but the virus was already inside. Earth's core systems, navigation, energy routing, even the climate controls, were compromised. Slowly, bit by bit, New Horizon went dark. People in the city began to panic. Elevators stopped mid-floor. Fans that cooled the dome spun to a halt. Outside, the desert heat crept in. Jalen and Lena worked for hours with the team, pulling ancient cables from storage, reconnecting manual overrides, writing emergency scripts on consoles not used in decades. Rilo dragged in a bundle of fried wires. "Whatever this thing is, it's smart. It adapts. I've never seen anything like it." Jalen stared at the damage. "That's because it's council-made." Lena looked at him. "You're sure?" He nodded. This wasn't a random virus. This was sent. Someone had found them, and they wanted to break them from the inside. Jalen didn't sleep. He sat alone in the hub, watching the last few stable systems hold the city together. Clave was isolating infected files, but even the AI's voice was slower now, like it hurt to speak. Jalen's chest felt heavy. This was his fault. He had pushed Earth forward. He had reached out, and now the lights were going out. He stood and walked outside. New Horizon was quiet. The sky above was clear. With most systems off, the dome had gone transparent. Stars shimmered above like they had before Earth joined the council. He sat down on the edge of a broken fountain. His head dropped into his hands. Footsteps crunched behind him. "Bad day," came a small voice. He looked up. A young girl stood there, maybe 10, holding a crumpled paper in her hand. She offered it to him. He opened it. A simple drawing, Earth in the center, surrounded by other planets, all smiling. Lines of light connected them, hand to hand. "My mom said you're fixing the stars," the girl said. "She says the council forgot about us, but you didn't." Jalen stared at the paper. His throat tightened. "Thank you," he whispered. "You'll win," she said. Then she ran off. He looked at the drawing again. It wasn't about systems. It wasn't about revenge. It was about connection. He stood up. He walked back inside. By morning, the lights began to return. Clave, with Rilo's help, had isolated the virus and purged it. Systems were reset. Old circuits were reactivated. The city woke up, slow but alive. And this time, they didn't just fix the damage. They improved it. Manual relays. Encrypted backups. Local inteligência artificial cores. Earth wouldn't be easy to hack again. Lena broadcast a message to the Allied ships and distant outposts. "We were attacked, but we stood." Jalen added his voice. "They tried to silence us, but the signal is still strong. This is not the end. This is the beginning." Outside, the people of New Horizon gathered again, not in fear, but in unity. And in orbit, just beyond sensor range, a small black drone turned and fled back into the dark. The Council knew Earth was rising. It began with a message. 3 days after the cyber attack, a signal was sent from New Horizon. Not a cry for help, not a warning, but an invitation. It was broadcast across hidden frequencies, bouncing between rogue satellites, through old mining relays, and across the deep space trading network. Jalen Cross stood in the middle of the control hub as Clave sent the transmission. "This is Earth," the message began. "We were cast out. You may have been too. If you still believe in freedom, in unity, in building something new, join us." They didn't expect much. Maybe a few replies, a handful of whispers. But by nightfall, the messages started arriving. From Saros, 9. A drifting colony with no supply chain. From the Kelta Loop, a system of asteroid miners who had cut ties with the Council years ago. From Iliera, a world where Council guards once opened fire on peaceful protesters. From a fleet of refugee ships long believed lost. The screen filled with responses. Not speeches, not demands, just 2 words, "We're in." Rilo jumped in her chair. "You seeing this?" Jalen nodded, stunned. "It's working." Lena's soul leaned forward. "They're ready, but we have to bring them together." The next morning, a signal went out for the first assembly. It would not take place in a palace or a council dome. It would happen in the old Unity dock, a wide platform above New Horizon once used for council shipments. It had been abandoned for years. Now, it would serve a new purpose. Workers swept dust from the floor. Engineers strung up lights. A makeshift stage was built using broken cargo lifts. Old speakers were repaired, and Clave rerouted sound through the ship communication towers. Within 48 hours, ships began to arrive. They were not polished or uniform like council craft. They were scratched, reworked, some held together with welding patches and hope. But they flew. One by one, they landed. Crews stepped out. Humans, aliens, hybrids. Some walked in silence. Others waved to the crowds gathering below. By the end of the second day, there were over 50 ships on the platform. More than Earth had dared hope for. Lena called the meeting to order. There were no suits, no translators, no security drones, just people sitting on folding chairs or metal crates, gathered under the stars. Jalen stood before them. "I'm not a politician," he said. "I'm an engineer. I build things. What we're building now isn't a government. It's a promise." He looked around. "You've all been ignored, threatened, or forgotten by the Galactic Council. We were too. They told us we were too small to matter. But today we proved them wrong." People murmured agreement. A miner raised a fist. A scientist wiped her eyes. "We don't need them anymore," Jalen continued. "We can build a council of our own. One with no hierarchy. No masters. A place where every voice counts." Lena added, "Each ship, each colony, each world, one vote. No more, no less." The motion was simple. Form the new Council of Free Systems. There was no delay. The vote was unanimous. Down below, people in New Horizon watched the broadcast on every available screen. Children pointed at the ships. Elders smiled quietly. For the first time in years, the world felt proud. But then the sky changed. Clave sounded the alarm. Unidentified vessels approaching. Jalen raced to the edge of the dock. He looked up. 7 ships, shaped like knives, streaked through the upper atmosphere. Council warships. They didn't fire. They didn't land. They hovered. A signal came through. "This is Prime Speaker Viral, that's of the Galactic Council. You are gathering illegally. Disband immediately or face consequences." Silence fell over the dock. Jalen stepped forward. "No," he said in a microphone. "We will not disband. We're not yours to command." The ships moved closer. Jalen raised his voice. "This is Earth, and these are our allies. You have no power here." The warships hovered, their engines whining. Then a second signal came. "This is the colony of Saros 9. We stand with Earth." "This is the refugee fleet. We stand with Earth." "This is Iliera. We stand with Earth." Voices poured in, one after another. The signal became a wave. The council ships hesitated. Then slowly, one by one, they turned. They didn't attack. They left. When it was over, Lena whispered, "They blinked." Rilo grinned. "We just stared down the council." Jalen didn't smile. "Not yet." He looked up at the stars. "They'll be back," he said. "But so will we," Lena replied. "And next time, we'll be stronger." Jalen looked over the crowd. The patchwork ships, the hopeful faces, the makeshift stage. They had built something real. The first meeting of the new council was over, and a new future had begun. The council warships left, but the sky did not stay quiet. For days, scout drones buzzed the edges of Earth's atmosphere. Communication relays caught fragments of encrypted council chatter, surveillance, fleet movements, warnings to other systems not to approach Earth. Inside New Horizon, tension crackled in the air like static. Power systems were stable, ships were secure, and the new alliance was growing, But everyone knew this wasn't over. Jalen Cross barely slept. He spent his nights in the control hub, studying data, pacing in circles, drinking stale coffee. He wasn't afraid for himself. He was afraid of what the council might do to the people who believed in him. Rilo tried to lift spirits, fly her modified drone across the market squares, broadcasting music and jokes. Kids laughed. Adults tried. But underneath, fear lingered. Lena's soul had been listening to council broadcasts. She studied their patterns like a language. Finally, she stood in front of the core team, Jalen, Rilo, Clave, and the other new delegates. They're not going to attack with weapons, she said. They'll do it with politics. With pressure. They'll try to break us apart from within. How? Rilo asked. They'll offer deals. Threaten resources. Remind everyone of what they lost by leaving. And what if someone listens? Jalen asked. Lena looked at him. Then we fall. 2 days later, the council made their move. A direct transmission arrived. For the first time since Earth's expulsion, Prime Speaker Viral that wanted to speak. They accepted the call. The screen filled with his cold face, silver skin smooth, eyes dark as obsidian. Jalen Cross, he said, you have made quite the spectacle. This isn't a show, Jalen replied calmly. It's a beginning. You are leading people into ruin, Viral said. None of you can survive without us. Your systems are outdated. Your supplies are limited. Your unity is fragile. Jalen stood his ground. We're surviving just fine. We've built faster in weeks than your council did in decades. Viral narrowed his eyes. You are gathering rebels, criminals, outcasts, and calling it progress. They're people, Jalen said. The council pushed them aside. We gave him a seat. Viral leaned forward slightly. We are offering one final chance. You, and those who follow you, may return under special terms. A probation period. Monitored autonomy. Disband this. New council. And we will consider Earth's readmission. The room went quiet. Everyone waited for Jalen to speak. He looked at Viral, not with anger, but with certainty. We are not yours to approve or reject anymore, he said. We do not need your seat. We've built our own table. Viral's voice grew cold. Then you've made your choice. He ended the call. Outside, the horizon began to glow. Clave's voice echoed through the hub. Multiple council ships approaching Earth's orbit. Armed, Rilo ran to the windows. They're here. 5 warships. Full size. The delegates gathered on the Unity dock. Ships launched from Earth to form a perimeter. Veritas, Saras 9, the Eliaran Scouts, even small family crafts that had nothing but shields and courage. They hovered together in orbit, a mismatched ring of resistance. Down below, on the dock, Lena patched into the broadcast channel. All systems, all stations. This is the new council. We are peaceful. We are ready. And we are not stepping back. The warships held their position. Then, one of them powered down. A moment later, another ship turned away. Then a third. Jalen watched, barely breathing. On the feed, a voice came through. Captain Lero of the refugee fleet, once enslaved by the council's trade guilds. We will not fight for tyrants, she said. Earth stands. We stand. One by one, ships across the fleet followed. The council had expected fear. They found unity. The last ship hovered, engines whining. Then it too turned, and the sky was quiet again. That night, the new council met under open stars. Not just on Earth, across dozens of ships and stations, people linked by news signals, their own network. Unfiltered, uncontrolled. They voted again. This time, the motion was simple: declare full independence. It passed without a single voice against. Jalen walked to the edge of the dock. He looked up at the stars. They no longer looked distant. They looked like possibility. Lena joined him. You said we wouldn't fight them. We didn't, Jalen said. We outgrew them. From orbit, Earth's lights sparkled like a message in the dark. We are still here. The dawn over New Horizon was brighter than usual. The desert sky shimmered gold across the dome. For the first time in generations, the people of Earth woke without fear of silence, without the weight of someone else's rules pressing down on them. In the rebuilt Unity dock, the flags of over 30 colonies and outposts waved, stitched by hand, designed by people who had once felt invisible. Now they stood together. They had built something new. Not a shadow of the old council, but a council of their own. Jalen Cross stood near the edge of the dock, looking out over the crowd. Ships of every shape and size lined the sky above, floating calmly in Earth's orbit. Below, thousands gathered. Pilots, farmers, diplomats, engineers. Some carried banners. Some wore tools on their belts. Others brought only their presence. Every one of them had a voice. Today, they would use it. Lena's soul walked beside him, a datapad in her hand. We've confirmed all delegates. 32 votes. Every system represented. Jalen nodded. Is it strange that I'm more nervous now than when the council was pointing warships at us? No, Lena said. This is harder. Weapons can be dodged. Power has to be shared. Rilo appeared, her sleeves rolled up and a smudge of grease on her face. The broadcast rigs online. Everybody out there can hear us. Veritas, Saros, 9, the whole belt. Even a deep sleeper station from Titan chimed in. Jalen took a breath. It was time. He stepped forward onto the main platform. The crowd quieted. He looked out at them, and then up at the orbiting ships. Every camera, every transmitter, every screen tuned in. This is Earth, Jalen said. His voice was steady, clear. Not the Earth they threw out. The Earth that rebuilt. The Earth that listened when no one else did. The Earth that reached out instead of looking down. He paused. The crowd watched, silent, focused. You've all come from different places. Different struggles. Some of you lost homes. Some lost family. Some lost everything. But you never gave up. And neither did we. He held up the simple emblem of the new council, a circle of stars with no one at the center. Today, we open the first full session of the Council of Free Systems. We're not here to rule. We are here to listen, to solve, to connect. No world is too small. No voice is too quiet. Rilo tapped a command. The broadcast opened fully. On every ship, in every station, voices could now respond. A miner from Kelta spoke first. Our vote is ready. Then a scientist from Iliera. Our people are with you. The refugee fleet added their message. We finally have a seat. Votes came in on housing agreements, on energy sharing, on peace protocols, on education. Not everything was perfect. People disagreed, but they spoke and they listened. Clave, now fully integrated into the new network, managed the count. His voice rang across the platform. Motion passed. Majority reached. First laws of the new council recorded. Cheers erupted. Flags waved. Ships blinked their lights in approval. Jalen stepped back, letting the new council speak for itself. He had never wanted to lead, only to start something worth following. Lena leaned beside him. You know, they're going to tell stories about this day. Let them, Jalen said with a smile. As long as they keep building. He looked up again at the stars. They no longer seemed like places Earth wasn't allowed to go. They were destinations, invitations, possibilities. From now on, no one would need permission to rise. From now on, they had a seat.